What's up, YouTube? Coming at you with another portfolio critique. This one's from a girl named Elsie that lives in Toronto and goes to ad school. So let's check it out. Let's do it. My name is Elsie, and I'm currently a fourth-year advertising student at OCAD University, and aside from advertising, other interests of mine include fashion, design, illustration, film, photography, and travel. If I'm not doing anything to do with these things listed above, I'm either sleeping, eating, or petting my dog. Alright, so visually, immediately I see three little hints of some of your favorite projects, and for me, that's a little too much. We get all that on your intro page. These are, I think, actually your thumbnails for these projects, so I would just scrap them from here and instead put either a picture of you or an illustration of you that shows some of your design styles, or just something design oriented that represents who you are rather than just some of your favorite work, because we're about to see that already. We're gonna dive deeper and we don't need to see everything twice. So just just my opinion, but I'm sticking to it. So if we go back, we're gonna go to Go Hawaii. So every travel campaign shows you what you can do in a specific destination, but we're here to tell you all the things you can't in Hawaii. All right, so just right off the bat, without reading anything, without knowing the campaign, the design style is amazing. Your color palette and choices are very good, and your illustration style's, kind of neat and different. Even the way you integrated some of this texture into those, flat vector art pieces is really nice. So the refinement and quality of the pieces already looks very high level, which is very good and a big plus, especially being in school. So let's jump into these print ads. So you can't ever say it's not barbecue season, so burning your buns is pretty easy. You can't get frostbite, but you might get brain freeze. You can't ask, are we there yet? Because you always are. Ooh, that's nice. You can't experience wind chill, but you can find the wind and chill. You can't wear mitts on your hands. Instead, put your toes in the sand. You can't spend all day surfing the net when you have waves calling your name. You can't face low temperatures, but you can reach high altitudes. You can't bundle up, so we suggest you go topless. A lot of print. There's a lot of print. There's almost too much print. I would take your best print ads and your best lines and kind of double down on those. It's nice to show a lot of these, but maybe a lot of these print ads turn into social posts and you show them kind of next to each other. It's just a long way to scroll of just print ads. With that being said, very beautiful stuff. The work looks great. Some of these lines are extremely playful and have nice nuances that seem very well crafted, and then other ones fall just a little bit short for me. I'm a big fan of the "Are we there yet?" line, because you're always there. I think that's just a nice line overall. And then as we get into you can't wear mitts on your hands, instead put your toes in the sand, it gets a little rhymey, it gets a little cheesy where everything else feels very elevated. So, just kind of cipher through, read your lines and be like, these ads, the art plus the line makes this ad very strong, and take your top three. I'm especially a fan of the tricks in this swimming one because you kind of distorted parts of the body to make it look a little bit more underwater, and so I think that's super cool. So for out of home, you kind of repurposed and gridded your idea, which is fine. I'm cool about repurposing in the real world. I think in your book, it doesn't show necessarily extra thinking. You're just showing a little bit more of the same. But if you did delete some of those print ads and these lived here instead, that could be something that I'm more down with. Another thing I'm realizing going through this page is you have these nice section headers, which are very common in a lot of portfolios to divide up, media type. The only thing I would say is you're using the exact same background image for each of these headers, and I would try to differ that up. So if it's out of home, do a nice macro shot of the out of home stuff. When it's on video spot, do a nice macro something in your video spot. So just a recommendation so the viewer's not seeing too much repeat stuff. You want to differ it up, you want to keep things interesting. Let's watch the video spot. And try to get a little space between the video and your next header if possible. All right, yeah, I mean, so cool stuff. To me, this is more of a, video for social or something like that. Again, repurposing the same ads we saw up top. So just try to cancel some of that repeat work. Maybe this stuff only lives in the video spot and gets deleted up in the print ads. And that way it just feels like a consistent campaign that they haven't seen, 3 or 4 times. I like that. Also, if you notice in the hair on your person, just to get nitpicky, your mask kind of cuts it and makes it flat on top. I would let things, if it's flowing hair, let it be flowing, and be careful with it hitting that mask and getting cut off. You've integrated the campaign nicely across the board. I'd say this pattern stuff looks a little bit different from the stuff I saw up top, so slight disconnect, but I do like that you created a pattern and that you're creating your own merch around the campaign. I really like what you have going on. I think the design skills are extremely nice. I'm just gonna hit it on the head again. My main problem with the entire campaign is that we just see the same thing too many times. We saw the same thing in your print ad that we saw in the out of home that we then saw in the video. So just, let things differ up. Start with 3 print ads, let the things in your video be completely different, and then let your, social ads be representations of that stuff as well. But overall, from a design aesthetic perspective, I would give you a very high score, and then from an idea, I would give you a pretty good score as well. The lines are pretty strong, and I like this whole giving, using the negative word of can't, but making an actual positive for the viewer. So I think it's an interesting play, and so I would give Go Hawaii an 8 out of 10. All right, WWF. So circuses could quickly lose their appeal if more people knew about the cruel methods used to train the animals and the poor treatment that they endure. The main goal of this campaign is to make consumers aware, informed, and educated on circus brutality. All right, so here you're using beautiful old school circus poster, art, which is very beautiful, but if someone takes a little bit closer of a look, they realize that these are all negative things. So we have Ella, the enslaved elephant, abused and exploited for your enjoyment. Tony, the tormented tiger. Leo, the lifeless lion. Oh, it's sad. I like that you place these posters in environment somewhere. So this isn't a print ad. This is more to life of where you would maybe actually see one of these big posters and really grab someone's attention. All right, your direct mail, again, you're hitting with the shock factor. So you start off with this circus invitation, but once you look into the envelope, you see that your ticket is kind of bloodied up with animal prints and stuff. You say, step right up, come one, kill all. So very brutal campaign, but in a way that's important, because when you're trying to get the word out about an issue, sometimes you have to be bold. All right, so you're really exploring in print for this campaign, which is fine, but what is that extra element that pushes it further? Are you hitting social media? Are you doing some other kind of guerrilla tactic? For the most part, I think the idea was smart, and you are taking a stand, you are being strong with what you're saying, and it's kind of one of those fearless PSAs. So for that reason, I would give WWF an 8 out of 10 as well. Surfrider. With the aggressive rise of plastic pollution in our oceans and people still not willing to care, I wanted to produce a compelling execution that raised awareness on the topic in a different way, showing that plastic eventually ends up in our food chain. So I can already tell you have a strong passion for nonprofit, which is, cool, and that's definitely a lane in which you can, excel in your advertising career. When you order seafood, you order plastic. Surfrider Foundation, and you essentially have a seafood menu where the only items on it are trash. The Surfrider one's tricky for me because I'd like it if it was on its own, but for now, it's just too closely related to what we just saw with the circus one. You approach the idea in the same way, and that is that, it's this beautifully designed thing that when you look a little bit closer, it's telling you this kind of PSA message. For now, I just think the circus one's stronger. So for that reason, I would give Surfrider a 5 out of 10. And I only say this because it becomes a little bit of a red flag for a creative director if the same idea is used across multiple brands, because then it makes the idea a little less ownable, actually. So by having Surfrider, it actually kind of weakens your idea for the circus one, because I think in my mind, could we just do this for a ton of things? And then it becomes a little bit less special. Majority of well-known companies have millions of regular customers, such as CocaCola uses palm oil in their products. People are not aware how it is affecting the environment and its wildlife. So these ads are to educate those and hopefully deter future purchases. So again, this is doing the same thing as those other 2 campaigns. So you're taking the brand Coca-Cola, you're making it look like a Coca-Cola ad, but when they look a little bit closer to the ingredients of what makes up your ad, they see that it's made up of these animals that are killed per minute. So it's just the same idea too many times. If you want to just do an all-encompassing idea that works across different brands, you could try to pull that off. I don't necessarily recommend that because people like when an idea is directly connected and can only be used by their brand. Like their brand is the only one that can say this. Their brand is the only one that can have this campaign. And the idea just doesn't work for other things. And when you show that, hey, my cool idea I had could work for anything, makes it a weaker idea. And so for that reason, I would axe CocaCola. I just think things are getting too consistent. I'm seeing too much of a theme here, and it makes me think that this is the main idea you had, which is a great idea, but it's just shown too many times across too many brands. And for that reason, I would axe it. The ask was create a 360-degree experiential campaign for a tribe called Red, a music group. So a little music poster work, and then let's see this video. I like that. That was cool. Yeah, I mean, so you're obviously going to be one of those people that jumps into the industry and does advertising for good. It seems like it's a huge passion point, and I would stick with that. If that's what you want to do, be that person, and don't try to like settle for a brand that you're not passionate about. So many times, especially out of school, we just take the first job that gets handed to us. And it may have a bunch of brands that we just don't care about and we don't really want to work on. If you can and have the time, try to find the spot that's perfect for you. I think there's a lot of great nonprofits that would be great for you. Seek those out and try to show them that you're the right fit. You've got a couple digital ad units, some guerrilla pop-up, and some tour merch, which is, beautifully created. So yeah, the design is nice on this stuff. It's taking a stand. I mean, is it overly creative? No, but it's not bad by all means. Not everything can be extremely clever. Sometimes you do have to do something that's just smart for what it is and, is beautifully designed. And so that's what I would say this campaign is. So for this, I would give Roots by ATCR a 7 out of 10. All right, Fanta. Wanna Fanta, don't you wanna? Fanta is known for its upbeat, colorful advertising, so I wanted to implement that in my work with the use of bright gradients and manipulated typography by creating a wet and glossy effect. All right, so real quick, in your description, you talk more about, how you did something. But the how we can see right in the ad. We can see that you used a wet and glossy effect. What's more important is the why, like why you chose to do that. And so when you're trying to write it, make a write-up for your idea, make sure you lead with that why and not the how. The how is evident in the work, and any creative director will probably know how you accomplished something or how you designed it or how you made it. It's the idea that is a little bit more important. And so this is just a one-off print ad. This is not one of those things that demands its own page. If you wanted to make a design section in your book with a lot of different one-offs, I think that would be where this would live. But it shouldn't carry its own category. It's one print ad. It's a cool, technique that you did to it, but it's not a huge idea. If you think about a creative director looking through your book, they're going to look at 3 campaigns, and if this is the one they click, they're not going to learn a lot about your ideation skill. They're just going to know that you have a little bit of tricks, which is more of a, production role rather than an art direction role. So just keep that in mind and be a little hesitant with that. And throw this in a design section somewhere with other work that is similar one-offs. All right, so Sombra Mezcal, again, nice design, but not enough to carry its own section. For that reason, move this with your Fanta stuff into a design section, and let it live as more of a one-off, because there's just not enough here to carry an entire campaign and tell a whole complete story. You got t-shirt designs, throw it in a design section. Shattered Sun, so you did some album art cover, throw it in a design section. And lastly, you have Nike by Wonder Girl. Again, these stickers look really cool. Like, they're pretty badass. I like what you did with it, but it's a design section. And so really quickly, I can tell that you have some big ideas up top, but then you wanted to fill your grid. And this is a problem that a lot of people run into, that they're like, oh, I don't want a creative recruiter to come to my site and see that I only have 5 campaigns on there. I want to show that I have a lot of work. But what this actually does is downgrades it, because then they're going to click on 1 or 2 or 3 campaigns, and 2 of those 3 things could be just design oriented little one-off pieces. You can't expect them to dive into every single square like we did, because they won't. And for that reason, less is more. All right, so to sum it all up, Elsie, there's a lot of promise here, and there's a lot of great design work. You obviously can illustrate nicely. Your stuff looks very professional. The things that I would be weary of are, make sure that you don't have the same idea across too many campaigns, because as I went down, the idea got less and less special. And I felt worse about the campaign I had loved previously, because I felt like the idea now could translate on pretty much most PSA things. Secondly, I would just be scared of having too many one-off items as their own sections. Compile all of those into one design section that shows off your tricks. And then I think you'll have a more well-rounded book, and I think it'll be a little bit easier to navigate. Really, not a ton of edits. It's mostly just kind of moving things around, and so you're telling a nicer story and making it easier for that creative recruiter or that person looking to hire you to navigate your book. I did think it was very interesting that the Go Hawaii stuff was probably my favorite thing in your book, and in your about, it's not one of your favorite projects, which I would like to know why that is. It is the first one you put in your book, which usually shows that you care about that and it carries a large weight of importance. And also just keep me posted on where you end up and whether you go the route for that nonprofit advertising, because I think that might be what's right for you based on this collection of work. But great job, Elsie. You know, you're on the right path. You're crushing it. If anybody else has any comments for Elsie, positive only or nice, thoughtful critiques, please post those below in the comments. If not, I'll see all your smiling, beautiful faces next time.